guys, what's up? Welcome to this episode of Mysteries of the Past. Today, the princes in the tower. Okay, Richard III. You know, the guy they found under a car park in Leicester a few years back. Well, history and Shakespeare found him guilty of murdering his two nephews to secure his throne. This has been the consensus for centuries, even though nobody knows what actually happened to them. Historians have largely ignored that there is a possibility that he didn't have them murdered, or that they were even murdered at all. History tells us that back in 1483, when Edward IV died, Richard became the Lord Protector / Regent of England until the 12-year-old Edward V came of age. He escorted the young king to the Tower of London and began making arrangements for the boy's coronation. After Edward was safe in the Tower, Richard declared both the king and his brother, Richard, Duke of York, illegitimate along with any children birthed by Elizabeth Woodville, the former queen. He claimed that her marriage to Edward IV was bigamous, as he had a pre-contract with another woman before he met Elizabeth. Following this declaration, key members of her family were executed. Fearing for the life of her other children, Elizabeth fled and claimed sanctuary in Westminster Abbey. She was eventually convinced that her second son, the Duke of York, would be safer with his brother, so she handed him over and he joined his brother in the Tower. Following this, Richard III began his reign as king on the 26th of June 1483. The princes were often seen around the Tower playing or practicing archery. Then they were seen in a window, and eventually they were never seen again. Now, history says that Richard had them murdered, but it is possible that he didn't order the murder or even knew about it until afterwards. When he was escorting Edward to the Tower, he was joined by a Henry Stafford. Henry Stafford, the second Duke of Buckingham, was an obscure noble before the rise of Richard. His family was mainly kept away from court, and he had major resentment towards Elizabeth Woodville and Edward IV. He was ambitious and ruthless. When Richard was appointed Lord Protector, Stafford saw an opportunity for his family to become the most dominant family in England. He quickly became Richard's right-hand man in all things, and vastly expanded his own household. Unlike Richard, who was noted for his intelligence, Stafford was rash and impulsive. He wanted vengeance for the slights he had suffered under Edward IV. It is unlikely that Richard would have been stupid enough to order the murder of the princes, without official reason for their deaths to present to the public. But it is possible that Stafford, being so consumed with vengeance, would make this blunder. There is also evidence that following the disappearance of the princes, Richard III and Stafford had an argument which ended with Stafford being exiled from court and sent to Wales. What we do know is that following his exile, Stafford joined the rebellion against Richard III. Keane argues that this rebellion was initially to rescue the boys from the Tower, but when Stafford joined, the rebellion shifted its focus to support Henry Tudor, future Henry VII. Was this because Stafford already knew what had happened to the boys? Ultimately, he was caught and executed under Richard III. There are also claims that the princes were deathly ill and attended by Dr. John Argentine, who treated Henry VII's first son, Arthur. One individual even went to Henry VII claiming to be the younger prince many years later, but that's for a different video. Regardless, there is no direct evidence of what happened to the two boys apart from their disappearance, and we are left with the Shakespearean image of a ruthless Richard. Maybe the real inspiration for this character was Henry Stafford, but in 1674 a box was found in the Tower containing two small skeletons, which was then reburied in Westminster Abbey. Both the Church of England and Queen Elizabeth II have not given permission for DNA testing on the bones following the discovery of Richard III's body. Whether he had the princes murdered or not, Richard III remains the last English monarch to die in battle. And that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button. If you want more, hit the subscribe button, and I'll speak to you soon. Till next time.